Now, to talk more about this issue, I spoke to one woman who is no stranger to making history. Priyanka Chopra is one of the highest paid Bollywood actresses in the world who is now making films here in Hollywood. She became the first South Asian actress to land a leading headline role on ABC's TV show Quantico. Last month, she also became the first South Asian actress to win a People's Choice Award. I caught up with Priyanka Chopra at her home in Montreal, and I started by asking her why she gravitates towards strong female characters in film and now in television.
I've always, from the beginning of my career actually, because I guess I didn't know any better. I didn't have anyone telling me. I always picked characters that resonated with me, and I've been raised as a strong, opinionated woman, and I think I veer towards playing characters like that. There are almost 7 billion people in the world. Can you imagine how many different kinds of characters I can play?
A lot of actresses I've spoken to over several years now have said that they always struggle to find that balance between being a working actress, so constantly taking on different roles, being employed, having a job, and then also waiting for the right role where it's really something you can sink your teeth into. How do you navigate that struggle?
I don't have that struggle. I'm very fortunate that I've had filmmakers that have come to me with parts that were written for me, with parts where I have the ability. I mean, yes, of course, in the beginning of my career, I didn't have that at all. I did play a lot of showpiece characters, I guess, but everyone starts somewhere, and I've been able to, reinstill the faith that my directors or filmmakers might have in my ability to pull off characters. And I think it takes time to have that kind of body of work.
You're presenting at the Oscars this year. I'm sure you're very well aware of the massive outcry that is currently going on against the Academy Awards over the lack of diversity. In fact, if you look across all the top categories at the Oscars, there is not a single minority that has been nominated, and this has been for 2 years running now. As an Indian woman who is breaking into Hollywood, does this lack of diversity concern you?
Every country has its own issues, okay? And coming from the outside and getting a perspective on what is happening in America right now. And I think if you look around in America, the girl next door doesn't look like a particular person anymore. So I do think there's a huge need for diversity, because there is no minorities or majorities anymore. I think, there have been too many, and it's extremely primitive a thought to me that people are judged by the color of their skin. It's just funny. It's such a primitive thought. So I do think, and I think television's making huge strides in that department. Quantico, my show especially, stands for diversity. When was the last time you saw a hijab-wearing, gun-wielding, ass-kicking character like Neema and Reina in my show, or an Indian girl who's like that? Breaking stereotypes, a Mormon, a gay guy. We have so many different kinds of diverse people on our show, and they're just treated as people, The ethnicities have nothing to do with their characters, and I think that's what art should be. Art is not about creating barriers or boundaries, or geography doesn't dictate art. Art transcends all that, and people need to start seeing entertainment like that now.
Why do you think lack of diversity is such an issue even today in 2016? Is it because the screenwriters perhaps aren't writing an array of roles for a diverse group of people? Is it the casting directors?
Or maybe it's the people who watch it.
So you think it's the audiences that dictate?
Filmmaking, I mean, coming from a business point of view, it's a demand and a supply. Movies that are made are the ones that are being consumed. People become stars because they're the ones who are being watched. So you have to keep fighting and make sure that you're seen and make sure that you're really good at your job. Like, for example, for me, I'm Indian. I'm not even Indian American. I'm Indian. But I'm really good at what I do. And my work will speak for myself, not the color of my skin. And whatever little opportunities that come my way, there are no small roles, there are only small actors, and I'm not a small actor. So I'll take on small parts, I'll take on whatever is given my way. Fortunately for me, I've been given amazing roles. But I have tremendous faith in my ability to do my job. And I think that's what the fight needs to be, to create opportunities where we can showcase our talent, where people can showcase their talent. And then you decide who's good or bad. But you can't decide that on the basis of what someone's skin.
Priyanka, there's almost this code of silence in the film industry about the pay gap between actors and actresses, both in Hollywood and in Bollywood. Yet when you look at the last few years, particularly over the past year, very prominent actresses have come out in Hollywood and Bollywood and been very vocal about this issue. Where do you see yourself falling in this narrative on equality in pay?
There is a huge diversity. There's a huge disparity in between the remunerations of men and women globally. And that is a big problem, but it'll only change with the conversation going in the right direction, with actions being taken in that step, which is when people start watching films with female leads on their posters. That is when the change will start coming. That is when women will not be dispensable. That is when we'll be able to consolidate our positions as artists worth reckoning, and that it'll just take extra work from our end and the battle. Feminism needs men, and a battle from people around the world who say, that she's good at her job and give her the ability to do it.
Other than talent and obviously acting abilities, what advice would you give actresses who would like to follow in your footsteps and have a career that's similar to yours?
That nothing is do or die. If you have to be Jimmy Iovine once said this to me, and I at that time I found it really funny, but I understand it. You have to be able to walk away from a deal if you really want it, and sometimes it won't be yours, but more than it not being yours, it just might end up being, because you don't want it that bad. You have to be really good at what you do and work on yourself. You can't change the world, you can change you, and you have to just make sure you're the best version of yourself. That is what success is. And it's not a destination. Success is a journey. You have to consistently be successful.